Friday the 13th, the new 4K of the 2009 remake of Arrow Video from Arrow Video. Finally got a chance to check this out, and now we're doing the 4K review of this. I really love the Friday the 13th movies. I came to them a little bit later. So this one I like quite a bit more because I did not grow up on these movies. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. The Scream Factory box set dropped to $100. Watched through all the movies, had a great time. This one, I have a soft spot for, so I may have some controversial opinions about this one. I will say with this review, I'm not going to review this movie as much as I normally do in these 4K reviews. I'm mostly going to talk about the release itself, just because, I was inspired by a famous YouTuber, Chris Duckman. He does a Halloween movie. Every Halloween, he reviews a different Halloween movie. At least he was doing that for a while. He stopped doing that. But I did that for Friday the 13th, and, eventually I want to get around to this one and do that. So I don't want to ruin my thoughts for my viewers, right? But I will talk about it a little bit. So let's start with the movie a little bit. Just give a quick blurb about the movie. This was kind of an era where horror was doing a ton of remakes. There was Amityville Horror, there was Fright Night, there was Nightmare on Elm Street a year after this. Just so many horror remakes, and it's kind of interesting to think about that time because at that time, people were not having it. Most of those movies were one and dones. There weren't really sequel to those. However, this one got a lot of hate, but has since developed a following, and I feel like that's every Friday the 13th movie, every Halloween movie. Whatever one came out and didn't get a lot of love at the time comes out later and develops like a huge cult following. And this one definitely has. I think it's because if you're newer to this franchise, like this movie is kind of the best movie in the franchise for like a newer audience get into it. Because they're 80s slasher movies, Friday the 13th, they're very silly, they're very of its time in a lot of ways. And that's fine. I love those movies. I'm not going to sit here and talk trash about them. I still watch at least a couple of them every year, right? But I don't know, like, it's one of those franchises I think only works in the 80s, but this is a good remake that, took some of the best elements of the original movies, kind of made them work now, So I love this movie. I think it's great for what kind of movie it is anyways. But, yeah. So here's the 4K. I gotta say, this was a release that was really cheap. It was $25. Arrow Video releases are not that usually that cheap. So, really glad I got this, but here's the slip cover. I love this new artwork. Here's back with all the read-ups and information. I did not have time to check through all the special features, but there are a lot on here. And yeah, and then this one does have reversible cover art, but I'm not going to reverse it because this cover is the reversible cover art. This is the original theatrical poster, which I chose to keep on my release because I like that better, even though it's great. This is a gorgeous booklet that has read-ups about the movies, character bios, things like that. There's some information about the restoration right here. That's pretty cool. So if you love this movie, yeah. And then this is really cool, and I'm still having debate if I'm going to put this on the wall somewhere. The Camp Crystal Lake postcard. I don't, part of me cannot take that out of this release. I love that here. And then you get the Disc 1 theatrical cut on 4K and Disc 2 killer cut, which I watched the killer cut because I would argue it's the better version. Not that there's a whole lot of difference. Like, I think the killer cut's like 97 minutes, and then the other one's like 10 minutes longer. I think it's extra blood and extra nudity and things like that. Nothing too special, but to me it just made the movies just slightly a little bit better. More blood and more gruesome to some of the kills. Because it's Friday the 13th. You want to see some people die. Yeah, this is a great 4K. I think with these movies, it's kind of awkward talking about these movies in 4K because These are not great looking movies. They're very cheap slasher movies, especially ones made in the 80s, right? This one is more modern. So this is probably the one that will look the best on 4K, and they did a great job with the restoration. Looks incredible. It is very clean looking, and you know, some of the darks are quite a bit darker, but that works to enhance the horror of this movie. So I think it really works. It's a gorgeous release too. Like I said, I did not watch the theatrical cut, but I mean, they're pretty much the same. So I'd imagine they look pretty much the same. I will say some people were disappointed that this does not include Blu-ray. The reason for that is that Scream Factory owns the rights to the Blu-rays at the moment, I believe. So, or at least Warner Brothers does, or somebody, and they didn't want to include that. So I understand. I think what sucks about Friday the 13th is I think we all want a 4K box set, but at this point, this franchise has so many rights issues, everything's scattered all over the place, that we may never actually just get a 4K complete box set. So I bought this one on 4K from Arrow Video, and then I got the original on 4K from Paramount, and then they put part 2 on 4K out, but only in that Paramount Scares box set, and if they do a single release, I'll get that. But it's all over the place with these. I get it. It's kind of, I understand that it can be frustrating with these, but I recommend grabbing these if you're a big fan of this franchise. But if you're more concerned about not having these movies in the highest quality necessarily and just having these in a box set together, go with the Scream Factory box set. It's the best way to own all of them together. I mean, even if I get all of these movies in 4K, I love that box set so much, I don't think I'll ever part with it. If they all come out in 4K, I'll probably just put that box set in storage somewhere and then keep these 4K releases out where I can grab them so I can rewatch the movies, right? But that box set is going to always be a part of my collection or just something I own. It's just a great box set. But this is another great 4K release from Arrow Video. So let me know your thoughts, like, share, and subscribe.